You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, General Hospital fans. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt. I want to talk to you guys about who it is that wants Drew Cain dead, because I'm wondering if a major villain is about to get a comeback for November sweeps. Right now on the ABC soap, Drew Cain remains at General Hospital, but as his recovery progresses, we're counting the days until he is going to be sent back to Pentonville, unless Alexis and Carly can get that judge to change his mind. Even more alarming is that the exiting warden made it clear that he's marked for death. But is it Cyrus Renault who wants Drew pushing up daisies, or is he just a red herring and there's a bigger villain to be revealed, perhaps a blast from the past for November sweeps? We're going to talk about this and who I'm wondering if it might be. But if you haven't already, please reach down, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our GH updates, spoilers, and news. So right now, it is painfully clear that the exiting warden of Pentonville wants Drew Cain dead, but the question is why? And it also seems like she's part of the larger conspiracy that sent Drew to Pentonville instead of honoring the plea deal he had signed with the prosecutor. It was pretty strange that the judge didn't abide by that plea deal. It's almost a given. If the prosecutor signs off, the judge accepts it. It is extremely rare in real life for it to happen the way it happened in Drew's case. It does, but it's rare. But what's also clear is that the judge has some wealthy, powerful friends. One of them is this billionaire, Asher Alexander, somebody that we have never heard of before or seen. Not that we know of. But the guy is supposedly well connected. And it could be that the judge that screwed over Drew is doing a favor either for this Asher guy or one of his influential friends. Right now, it feels to me like Drew was very specifically sent to Pentonville for the express purpose of killing him. All right. And the warden definitely wants him dead. I don't think it's personal. I think maybe she's been paid. But after the last episode, it's clear that she is doing it for someone else and not herself. The initial assumption was that she was doing Cyrus Renault's dirty work, but now, after this conversation with her and Cyrus, I just don't think that's true anymore. I do think that Cyrus held some sway over the warden, but perhaps she was willing to take bribes from anyone. Remember when she was in Drew's hospital room after he was injured, when he was still unconscious, and Carly was raging, and the warden made those cryptic statements that could definitely be interpreted as threats. She talked about wanting Drew out of Pentonville, but it sounded more ominous, like she meant in a body bag. And you might assume, a lot of people might assume, Cyrus had Drew beaten nearly to death, but now I just don't think so. Recall that Cyrus had the whole Drew situation handled about Drew asking questions. He had gotten that guard to give Drew bad info, so Drew wasn't a threat to Cyrus, and Cyrus seemed genuinely grateful to Drew for saving his life. So right now, I'm leaning more towards thinking Cyrus is a red herring and he doesn't actually want Drew dead. But if it's not Cyrus, then who is paying the warden to have guards look the other way when prisoners attacked Drew intent on beating him to death? I'm thinking it might be the same person who leaned on the judge to send Drew to Pentonville to start with. So I have a few ideas of who might be the mastermind behind all this, and I think it's whoever is running the Pikeman organization. So we've got a couple of parallel plots happening, and I've mentioned here before on videos how much I despise umbrella stories. And some of the GH writers have this peculiar attachment to them. It's awful. If you don't know what an umbrella story is, it is a set of seemingly separate storylines that are actually connected by a larger membrane. Imagine an open umbrella, opened wide. The ribs of the umbrella storyline are all the plots that seem separate and distinct, the little metal parts of your umbrella. And then the canopy or the fabric of an umbrella storyline is the element that connects them all. In this case, if this is an umbrella storyline on General Hospital, we've got Drew Cain and the SEC thing. We've got Cyrus and his interest in Sonny. We've got Pikeman. We've got the warden. We have this rando billionaire. And some of it seems connected, some of it doesn't, but this may be some sort of umbrella thing that we haven't seen yet connecting it all. So I feel like whoever had Drew sent to Pentonville and wants him dead is the same person paying the warden for the attack and is the same person running Pikeman. If so, if I'm right about this, it's a big villain. But who is it exactly? So yeah, they could have just created a whole new villain. I think personally, it would be a lot more interesting if it was a villainous blast from the past. So maybe this billionaire, Asher Alexander, is the uber villain, but he might also be someone who is a villain from the past using a new name to disguise who they are, what's their agenda, and what's their intentions. So I was doing some deep thinking, y'all. I like to do deep thinking, and sometimes it's too deep. Sometimes I dig too deep. So I was wondering if the name Pikeman is some sort of clue. Stick with me on this. This is kind of out of the box thinking. If you think about a pike off the cuff, you might first think it's a fish. That's not helpful at all. I went back and looked at all the past villains looking for some kind of fishy names. Nope, couldn't find any. All right, so I decided to think, what else is a pike? Well, a pike is also a weapon. It's a spear. If you've ever seen a medieval period film or Game of Thrones, those things they like to put enemies' heads on, those are pikes. It's a big, long spear, like 7-8 feet tall. So is there a past GH villain with a name like Spear or something like that? Yes, there is one, but it's not a name that you would think of because it's not Spear. It's a name that means something similar. I went strolling through the archives of GH villains, looking at the meanings of their names, and guess who I came up with? Jerry Jacks. I know you're thinking, his name's not Spear, his name's not Pike. Hang on, bear with me. The name Jerry, Gerald, Jerome, all of its forms of Jerry literally means spear. And a spear and a pike are the same thing. There's really not much of a difference between them. So you might hear this and think, Belinda's gone nuts. She's digging way too deep. She's reaching way too far. The thing is, I went digging and poking because if you're a regular listener, you know I'm a research girl. I honestly didn't think I would come up with anything when I started digging, and then I did come up with it. Now, whether I found the same thread that the GH writers came up with remains to be seen. If they are bringing back Jerry Jacks, remember, he's come back using a fake name before. So maybe he could be Asher Alexander or just another friend of his. Jerry Jacks might be the man who owns Pikeman. If you remember Jerry Jacks, he is a bad man. He is Jocelyn Jacks' uncle. He is the brother of Jasper Jacks. He has done all manner of violence, terroristic activities, hostage taking, shooting, poisoning, any bad thing you can think of. Jerry Jacks has done it, and he has a past of espionage, money laundering, arson, so many things. As a side note, the actor who plays him has a deep tie to a character who is part of this front burner storyline. Sebastian Roche is the actor who played Jerry Jacks from 2007 until he was last seen in 2015. He's the person that when you think of Jerry Jacks, that's the face. He also starred in the CW series Supernatural. Do you know who else from GH was on Supernatural? James Patrick Stewart, who plays Valentine Cassadine. Most of the Supernatural gang stay pretty tight. They do fan events and cons together. So that's just one more link between this villain from the past and this plot in the present. A lot of times they use friends, people that other actors are dating, things like that when they bring somebody in for a short run. Just something to think about. Jerry is a terrorist, a mercenary, and a criminal mastermind. Could he be the man behind Pikeman? Sure. Could he be the guy who wants Drew dead? Sure. After all, Jerry, while he doesn't know Drew, and they could do a retcon and say that he did know him, but we do know that Jerry hated Jason Morgan and he tried to kill Drew's twin more than once. Other notions that cross my mind, just to thinking out of the box and who this could be, is that it could be somebody, a Cassadine, or someone who's Cassadine adjacent. A lot of people wonder if Peter August somehow survived or was revived by Victor. I do think there's a very slim to non-existent chance that Peter survived. As for Victor Cassadine, I do think he's well and truly dead, and I don't think he was running Pikeman. I also don't think Victor had anything to do with what's befalling Drew now, because the insider trading thing and the prison sentence and all that, it came up after Victor was already dead. So also, the Pikeman puzzle piece does not seem to tie to Cyrus. He's not Pikeman because he was trying to get information on Pikeman from Sonny's computer, and that's why he did the whole nanny thing. And again, I just don't feel like Cyrus is the one who wants Drew dead, not after the most recent conversation we saw between Cyrus and the warden. If Cyrus really wanted Drew dead, he could have just let him bleed out on the shower floor instead of calling for assistance. He just could have looked the other way, told the guard to walk away. So for now, what I really hope is that once the reveal of who's behind the threat to Drew and who's behind Pikeman, I hope when it comes out that it just makes sense. That's my first hope. Second, I want it revealed soon. We've been hearing about Pikeman since 2022. It has been more than a year. I personally do not think any soap plot should last a year. A few months, like 6 months at the most, but a year, over a year, that's insanity. We are also over a year out on the whole Mason Gatlin and Austin Gatlin Holt Pawtuck Hillbilly Mafia meth storyline. There are just too many plot lines lingering, y'all. The SEC thing started with Carly diving into insider trading in June of 2022. We are way past a year on that also. Honestly, it's hard to count how many plots have not been going on for over a year at this point. Every single plot, with a few notable exceptions, has been lingering to a painfully long extent. This is a huge source of fan frustration. I feel like this is a huge source of dropping ratings because people are tuning out because they're not getting closure, they're not getting climaxes, they are not getting action moving forward in a timely manner. When things rock on too long, fans no longer care if the plot is clever or if the reveal is exciting because they are so fatigued by waiting that they just want it over. They just want it over. That being said, I would love it if Jerry Jacks was back as the Pikeman boss. Sebastian Roche is phenomenal, and with the SAG strike still ongoing, he's got time on his hands. I've seen him out on the picket lines, and the soaps are one of the few things that you can actually work on right now. At this point, though, I would literally take GH wrapping it up and giving us anyone as Pikeman. Nurse Amy, Esme, Kevin Collins, I don't care. Some rando who's been bussing tables at Kelly's. Just wrap it the heck up, please. All right, let me know what you guys think. Do you think there's a chance it could be Jerry Jacks? If not, is there another villain from the past that you would like to see it be? Click like if you enjoyed this conversation, and definitely click subscribe if you haven't already, and come back soon for more on General Hospital. This has been Belinda from Soap Dirt. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.